This truck's of questionable quality, to put it nicely. 1986 Isuzu, but I cannot believe it. Filter light for some sort of I don't know what it is. Might even be an oil filter. It's got another one for if the air filter's too blocked. Oh, that one's for the oil filter. Don't know what the hell filters that's for. And even radiator level, all display lights on it. 1986, and it's got a thing that tells you if you don't have enough water / coolant in the radiator. My car has that as a 99 model, and there's things that the cars of the late 90s in Australia have got that they only got in the States in 2006. So our cars are automatically at least 7 years ahead. And, you know, mine was one of the first ones to have the radiator level in the instrument panel. And yet this 86 model Isuzu has got it in the panel. That's surprising. Your heating and cooling is either to the windscreen or to your feet, and that's it. But yet you've got so many warning lights on it, it's unbelievable. But yeah, I think the old girl's body's just about stuffed, to put it lightly. There's so much blooming rust and bog in this thing, it's a bit spooky. Alrighty. Just give you a bit of an update. Although there's a guy who works at work who usually works in forestry and that, and earth moving, during the spring and summer, they've had another guy who used to work from several years ago come back, and yeah, he's been back for his first week, and he's complaining that he's had 2 10-hour days, another 2 12-hour days, and he didn't want to do a second job today. Unfortunately, I sort of have these weeks where I have it only a couple of days, like 2 days, and the next week I'll get like 4 days or whatever, and quite a few hours. 24 hours last week and not that many hours this week. But he's whinging that he's working too much. But yeah, we had a bit of a debacle at work with one of the trucks. The transmission shit itself. Fucking gearbox shit itself about 15 yards out of the bloody client's house, full of furniture, and just went to get around the next friggin' corner and the intersection and shit itself, and that was it. So, a bit of a commotion, and while I could have got 2 jobs, 2 houses moved yesterday, the guy I was with had to go back and help sort all that out. And then the guy I was with today done our second job yesterday, and was whinging that he's worn out, and we had 2 jobs today, and he said to the office girl, can you hand the second job off to somebody else? So she done that, and yeah, both days, luck of the draw, ended up only moving 1 house as opposed to 2, so I didn't get as many hours as I could have got. Often seems you only get 5 hours sort of thing, but that's only because we're moving 1 house, and gets to summer and you move bloody 3 houses a day. And that's just the way it is. You know, it'll probably get to summer where a lot of people work from, like this guy the other night, he worked to bloody 10:30, you know, at night. And apparently during the summer that's pretty normal to work from 7 AM to friggin' midnight or 11 o'clock, and you know, and it'll probably be the case then I'll be gagging. I'll only be working 3 days a week to sort of make up on all the other days I'm working so damn hard. But anyways, one of those things, you know, I'm not the first pick obviously, because I'm not one of the guys who's worked there for so long. That other guy worked for him for a few years, I think, and then went into fence contracting, and now he's come back again. And a lot of the other guys are his, you know, close friends and stuff like that. And I'm, you know, much of an outsider really, and as a result, and the fact that let's face it, I don't know what I'm doing as much as they do, and it's sort of obvious. You know, they're the experienced ones and I'm not, so I'm always going to be second choice until I build up that experience. But it's just, you know, the way it goes. And like a lot of jobs in this country, you sort of you start there as the extra guy who's helping out, and that's your time to learn while you're only doing a few hours a week. And as time goes on, you build up your experience, then somebody leaves, and then you more or less take over their, position, because by that time you've got the experience up, and you know what you're doing. I've got a bit of an idea of what I'm doing, but it's good if the people you work with keep giving you orders, bring this thing out, bring that thing out, bring the next thing out. I know pretty good, I'm almost there when it comes to knowing how to wrap things up, and sort of some of the basic rules of it all. Getting better at knowing how to handle things. I actually learned something else today that nobody ever bothered telling me, but this guy did today, to do with getting drawers out a lot easier. Yeah. Anyway, one of those things over time, I'll get more experience, and it's like all jobs, I always seem to notice either a job, the first day or two everybody's nice to you and lets you not do a great deal and gives you a lot of advice, and then they sort of just expect you to be picking it up, so they expect you to be watching and work it out for yourself. And that point, when you first start a job, it's first couple of days is good, and then it's sort of, first couple of weeks is good, and then it gets to that point where there's a very steep learning curve, and you've got to start learning quickly, and they, expect you to be picking it up, and at that point, it's hard, because you're at that steep learning curve point, and the politeness drops, and you've got to start moving fast, gets expected, and at the same time you're trying to get your head around it, but you're still fumbling a bit. And then you start to get reasonably alright at it. And that's when the pressure comes off, and then you master it. And that's when they almost expect you to start training somebody else who might be new. And then I get to that point where after I've mastered it, 6 months later I start getting bored of it. And not all jobs I quit, but before the GFC there are some jobs that I used to quit purely out of being just plain old fucking bored of them. Let's face it, radiator manufacturer was like that. Nursery was like that the first time round. I come back a second time and done another 4 months at that nursery, but because I didn't take full time when it was offered to me, they just said, well, the backlog got caught up with, and that was it. See you later. And yeah, but anyway, this job we had today, it seems a lot of these jobs, it's only 5.5 hours when you move one house, and you're there you drive to the capital, and you go first to the depot, you stand around like a dickhead for half an hour while everybody's having friggin' 3 cups of coffee and 5 cigarettes, and then after half an hour sitting around doing nothing, they check the oil in the truck and start it up and sit it out there and keep talking shit for another 10 minutes while the truck warms up. Then you're off to the blooming capital. All that time you're not even paid for it, And you end up doing a day that should be about 7, you're there for 8 hours and you're looking at this 5.5 hours, And that's what you've got to write down because you do your own timesheet. And realistically, given the fact the way it's structured, that's all you do, even though you spend 8 hours there. And as a result, if you want to get 8 hours of pay, you've got to spend about 10.5 hours there, And when this client today told me, we said we're on $24 an hour, and she said, I'm on far more than that, and I'm a cook's assistant, and I can go outside for a cigarette whenever I want. And here she is, with a bloody chopping board and a frickin' paring knife, getting more money than we are lifting heavy furniture, and she's, she says shit like that, she said that, and I just thought, fucking hell, I should be doing that, because I don't know, well, actually I do know you guys haven't seen it, and I do have to make a video of it, but I'm one of these people that can get a paring knife, or even a bigger one, and lay a few carrots down and just go, you know, I just chop it up like a fucking lawnmower. And I'm that sort of person that, you know, they say on some of these cooking shows, MasterChef and all that bullshit, that, you know, do they know how to use a knife? You know, are they good at chopping food up? Well, I've never been trained by anybody else. I've never done it in the kitchen. I fucking hate cooking shows. Yet I can pick up a knife and cut a carrot like a fucking lawnmower, just. And I should do a video one day and show you guys how I can do it. And you'll see that they're all a consistent size when they're sliced up. I can move like crazy with a knife, even though I've had no experience in a kitchen and don't give a fuck about any of these cooking shows and don't think of myself as a chef. And you sort of think, here I'm lugging furniture on $24 an hour, and she's probably on like, I think she's on like fucking $28 an hour or something like this, cutting up fucking vegetables, and you sort of think, shit, maybe I should go into doing that. But some of the things that go downhill during a GFC, or during, not a GFC, but any sort of recession, the first things that go downhill in a recession are magazine sales, chocolate bars, and restaurants. But having said that, not all cooks are in restaurants. Some are in nursing homes, some are in workplace canteens. And, hey, you know, that's one of those things. Other thing is lunch trucks and stuff like that. And truck license, there you go. But, you know, as for slicing stuff up, you know, I can move like nobody else. And you sort of think, why am I lifting heavy furniture on less money than someone chopping up fucking vegetables? Having said that, though, this job we done, you know, today for that woman, walk out of there with something like about $600 in cash as payment for the job, and you sit there going, you're doing a little math and you're going, bloody hell, you know. Even when you calculate the diesel rate, it's a flaming good industry to be a boss in. And as so many people have told me, brother-in-laws told me, pastors told me, you know, you should stop fumbling around in these shit fucking jobs with these, let's face it, bogans, guys who can't fucking spell correctly, can't add stuff up on paper. You know, all these guys are the same sort of guys, more often than not, that I saw drop out of school years before me, and, you know, here I am, as a couple of people have told me, doing stuff that's well below my potential, you know, and one day, hey, you know, I've been looking quite a bit at the price of trucks, and there's certain joints that even if you have an ABN, which I used to with my old business, it's just part of, it costs you $300 to get an ABN, and there's certain companies that will loan you money straight off the bat up to quite a phenomenal amount just by having an ABN. One, the boss mentioned, it's one that deals with former bankrupts and stuff like that. Forgot what he said. I think it was goddamn near 100 grand or something like this. So just by having an ABN, you know, or it was at least 10 grand. I think it might have been 100 grand they'll give you just off the bat. I don't like the idea of doing that, and quite frankly, I have enough silver to be able to buy a truck anyway. But it's one of these things that's definitely worth it, and I can see several failings and things, as I've talked about before, and something I'm keeping in the back of my mind there, you know, in regards to all this. But in the meantime, I think I do have to learn all the tricks of the trade, and yeah, as for the whole woman situation, I'm going to see what I can do about language classes, learning their language, and I'm picking up bits and pieces on that. And I think that will be, hey, if I'm in language classes, you know, that they run, well, instantly I'm amongst them all. And the other thing is it's a good excuse to go to their church services because it's all spoken in their language and I'm trying to learn the language. One of these things, you know, I've never been terribly great with getting serious about girlfriends. But one thing I do notice with a lot of the customers, I engage in conversation with the customers a hell of a lot better than most of the guys I work with. And sort of strange like that, you know, it's one of those things with, if I love a girl, I can really look her in the face, and that's the way I've always been. But as for customers and shit like that, I think I do have what it takes to be able to generate a massive amount of my own sales in regards to removalists. And, you know, if I was to move in this direction and things were to get going, it may get to the point that I'd be involved in basically truck repairs and buying new trucks and sales, and that'd be it. And, you know, the rest of it I'd end up leaving to employees eventually. You know, initially, yeah, sure, you'd have to do it all yourself initially, you and an offsider, but as things built up, you know, it may even get to the point of course I'd have to answer the phones and all that sort of shit, but it may even get to the point that you could have somebody who would answer the phones and organise shit, more or less a manager, you know, and I'd be able to stick to truck repairs and sales, because I think I could actually excel quite a lot in sales. And it's one of those things that I've always been a very meek person, but many years ago, my father said to me, the only way you'll really get jobs is by going door to door and handing your resume in. And I was just about shitting my pants initially. I was sweat, you know, running down my forehead and everything, going door to door, hand out a resume. But now that's become the way that I always get jobs. And I have this thing where, although I may be very quiet and only sort of hang with my main group of friends and stuff like that, and sort of far too nervous to approach girls I love and stuff like that, when it comes to something that I need to do, particularly handing out resumes or even approaching potential customers, cold call, there's something that just sort of goes, okay, we've got to do this, and then I feel this, something clicks and bingo, and I can be as good as any fucking real estate agent, you know, and it really is like that. And hey, you know, I don't think I'd cut it as a real estate agent, but well, then again, I might, but you know, I'm not really going to be aiming for that. It's surprising in a way. It's almost out of character, but then I realise working with a lot of these customers and that, you know, I'm bloody good at it. And regardless of the fact that it's so out of character for me personality. But anyway, that's me weekly rant. It's probably in many ways similar to some of the other weeks, but I'm just telling you what's going down this week.